Hello, everybody, wherever you are in the world. My name is Huski, and we are here today bringing you the next installment of the RP series, Season 11, from the world-famous GT Grand Prix everything track of Spa-Francorchamps. I am Huski, and I am joined today by my good friend Jack. Say hello.
Hello. I hope everyone is having a wonderful sunny Sunday here. At least in the UK, it is actually some nice weather for once. Seems like we should have the same thing on track as well.
It is indeed. For once, the UK has nice weather, and looking at the weather forecast we've been given for today's race, it does look indeed like the drivers are going to have clear skies, dry running, not too much temperature that would cause any issues either, which I'm sure for a lot of drivers, especially with tyre temps, a few are going to be going, oh, phew.
Yeah, Spa notorious for changeable conditions, to say the least. Looks like it's going to be relatively sane and relatively practiced as well. People are going to be able to take their practice laps and really implement them in the race. It's going to be a slightly longer one today. 65 minutes, no mandatory pit stops as well, so we might see some interesting strategies unfold throughout the race from people up and down the grid.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting one for some of the drivers. We've seen drivers go long, go short, go in the middle on stints, but you might have a bit more insight into this, Jack. But I'm pretty sure I was reading that there isn't a mandatory pit stop today.
Yeah, so no mandatory stops, no mandatory tyre changes or refueling. So there are going to be some people in certain cars that can make it to the end of the race on one tank, one set of tyres, and one dream. Those people are going to have a massive advantage if they can make it work.
Indeed they will. I mean, I know from my runs of endurance racing with Racing Pals, typically you can stretch a car out to that 65-minute, but it does require a little bit more, what's the word, finesse and pizzazz, I think is the words that I would be looking for here, when it comes to running it such as that, as we now see the cars going on to the circuit.
Yeah, so just GT3s for us this season. So although we got a lot of the new lovely Ford Mustang, people were given that option to freely change to it if they wanted to. But a good sizable number of the grid changed over to the V8 naturally aspirated machine. No GT4, so 15 minutes, everyone for themselves. There is a lead pack that has our main man Martin Kovac from Hungary in the Lexus, that absolutely gorgeous machine. The white, black and red livery looking stunning.
Yeah, one thing Kovacs, I would say it normally brings, but I am going to add the little qualifier of last season. However, normally Kovacs does bring a really nice paint scheme to each season. For anyone that didn't see his paint scheme last season, I'm pretty sure you did, Jack, because I was pretty sure you were on circuit last season.
No, I was not. I did a couple of commentary coverage for those that weren't available. I was quite busy for that season, unfortunately. However, it was absolutely magical, especially at Donington. It was a absolutely friendly time, for sure.
Yeah, last season a lot happened. The final race did put me personally on a high, waiting for this season to kick off. And here we are, me and you back in the booth together for round 2. Last round at Suzuka, obviously our good friend James jumped in for us in our stead. But this season, I think, unless anything changes, it's these are the two voices we'll be used to all the way through.
Yeah, Mr. Andrews covering us, who's now in the number 74 Mustang in the silver class, in an absolutely gorgeous, almost like a sky blue livery that almost has shades of golf coloration to it. It's gone for the red accent as well. It looks, in my opinion, one of the simple design but absolutely beautiful.
Exactly.
But yeah,
well,
covered for us for the first week, and we are with you for the rest of the season.
And how about, seeing as we were talking about him, as we see on screen, Mr. James Andrews, the 74, coming up to the bus stop chicane. Let us ride on board with him for a good look from the inside of the new GT3 car at one of the most revered circuits for GT racing, the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, as we see him coming through the bus stop to the start-finish line. Again, very weird for people that don't know that there's a start line and a finish line, but as he comes into La Source, down the gears in first, actually, bit of snap of oversteer, and then the run down to Eau Rouge.
So I have been trying out the Mustang because it's going to be my car going forward, and from conversations I've had with Thomas Jack and some of the other expert drivers, you're pretty much a gear lower than everyone else the entire way around. There is a good chance that even at the end of the Kemmel Straight, he will still be in 5th gear. And it's how much overhead the engine gives you in this car. As it comes to the braking zone, just hasn't got that final gear. Just not necessary. Come through the right, the left, absolutely roaring. But again, a gear lower than what you'd expect in a normal GT3. This means that you are getting so much more low end out of that V8, and the traction on this car has meant that it's had to pretty much immediately be bopped by LFM and ourselves, because it's just so impressive in every type of corner.
And I'm not sure if you've found this while driving it. I've given the Mustang not many laps, but I've given it a few to get a general feel of the car, as I do with everything. And I was finding a lot that with that basically -1 gear everywhere, that I was finding a lot of my muscle memory from the Audi, much like down the Kemmel Straight, where I'd be shifting from 6th down to 3rd. I was actually shifting incorrectly into the corners.
Yeah, I would say that if you are someone that kind of, when the GT4s came out, kind of gravitated to them, it's going to feel very similar to the KTM. You are in pretty much the same gear as a KTM would be most of the way round, except with about 400 more brake horsepower and about 1,000 more pounds in weight. So you really are pushing the upper limits of what can be considered a sports car at this point. But I'm glad that the team they worked on the Bentley Continental GT as well. They've absolutely smashed it. It's an incredible muscle car at the end of that lap. We saw James gets blocked a little bit there by the driver in front of him in the number 27, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think one thing we should address for people who may be new to the streams and to ourselves, in our P series we run a driver class system. For people who are unsure, this essentially, I don't know if you have a better way of explaining it, Jack, but the way I explain it is the race is split up into 3, more or less: the platinum, the silver, and the bronze.
Yeah, so we have 3 championships that are split partially by driver skill, but it is based on a hot lap system for the most part. And as drivers towards the end of each season, we will ask them, like, okay, you're actually really good. A good example of this is Stork in the number 66. Last season was I believe a silver driver, or maybe even a bronze driver, but has been so incredibly impressive that he was awarded the opportunity to fight for that platinum trophy, which is the highest class and the most prestigious. The silvers drivers are a lot of our mainstays are in there. So you have Dan Scott in the 128, you have Gottlieb in the 36, Andrews that we've been talking about at the 74, Jurgens Oosthuizen in the 12 as well. A lot of them switched over to the Ford, Gottlieb in the Lexus. These are our regulars. They're here for every kind of event. Bronzes is where the people who haven't quite or aren't quite there with their pace, or for this season specifically, for those people who haven't submitted those hot laps to get their proper slots. But it does mean that we have 3 winners every week. We have 3 champions at the end of the season. And it gives people room to see if they're growing. If you're a silver driver and you're constantly at the top, pushing for that platinum is the goal. So it's really nice to see when drivers get are really happy when they get to move up a tier as well. It's really nice to see.
You missed one mainstay in the bronze class, and do you know what that is?
Oh, you're gonna tell me?
Me, whenever I'm racing. I did one season, I got put into bronze immediately. So I think I'm sticking to the day job.
Yeah, I think the same for me as well. My pace isn't there. I'm much more an oval racer or an endurance racer when it comes to things. Not really a big sprint fan. However, this one, 65 minutes, will be very interesting. Speaking of interesting things happening at Spa, it's been a very interesting day interesting week for motorsports. The 6 hours of Spa became the 7 hours and 45 minutes of Spa. So again, just Spa continually giving us weird and wonderful moments of motorsports, and I hope today is no different.
Yeah, and as we're following on stream, one driver who I was a little bit surprised to see him change car. Not overly, but a little bit, because he had sort of stuck with one car all the while I've been around, is Thomas Jack switching over from his trusty McLaren into the Ford.
Yes, a little bit of a surprise initially, but conversations that I've had with Jack, with Thomas Jack, have been incredibly interesting. This car, it just seems to settle for him when he needs it to. He's incredibly confident in it immediately. Like, to put it in perspective, this car has been out for, what, 6 days now? 5 full days of practice available for people before this race, and people are absolutely loving it. It's a car I have waited for since the start of the year to be released. I wasn't expecting it until much later, and Kunos absolutely smashing it, releasing the car absolutely randomly for free, and you can see how many people have swapped over to it. It is an immediate fan favorite, and as someone who loves the Mustang and has always loved the Mustang, it just makes me very happy. Thomas is loving it. We're going to get some testing in for Indy, so you actually see me on the grid for the first time in a RP series or an RP race at the Endurance at the end of the month at Indianapolis. And we're going to be rocking American Muscle.
Now, one thing that I do want to point attention to, we haven't mentioned it so far, but the gap up the top between the top 3 is under a tenth, as we see Robin Moe coming through the bus stop chicane another time. I think he's invalidated, though, or this is an outlap. But 0.005 between first and second, then 0.022 between Moreno as well. That is some really, really tight gaps in 3 different manufacturers, but 3 same drivetrain style cars, all front engined. One of them being the Bentley, which is more of a brick than anything else. One being the Aston Martin, and one being the Lexus.
Yeah, so something interesting has happened recently, whether it's just to do with people's enjoyment of the game, but people have been moving away from the Ferraris, from the Porsches, even from the I don't think we have a single Audi on the grid, which if you said that 2-3 years ago to someone, they wouldn't have thought it was possible that you wouldn't have an Audi on the GT3 grid. But yeah, it's just been such a great thing to see that, because of the bop changes in Community Bop, and as we see, Christian hit the wall, the source. Unfortunately, oversteer in the Porsche, which is something that people have mentioned around. It just feels a little bit off compared to what it used to. There's a lot more variety in the types of cars we're seeing putting in top lap times in RP series. One of our fastest drivers, Martin Kovac, has absolutely fallen in love with the Lexus, and I can't blame him. It is an amazing car. the Aston Martins being so very potent in the hands of a solid driver, and the V8s of the Ford and the Bentley are second to none when it comes to straight line speed. The fact that we're seeing these cars consistently put in good lap times is just something you wouldn't have expected going back even a year at this point.
For sure. One thing that did surprise me when I logged in today and saw was Pierre Moreno out of the Porsche and into the Aston Martin. From all of my time covering RP series, Pierre has always been a Porsche driver, and for him to make that switch from the rear mid-engined Porsche to the front-engined Aston Martin is something that for me is going to be really interesting to watch over the season. I mean, he's already putting in, you know, top 3 times at the minute with a 2:16.9, so clearly that switch hasn't been as drastic as what some people might have thought.
No, the change-up has. I think he's allowed him to be more comfortable with it, a little bit more stable. I feel the Aston is compared to the Porsche a lot of times, but also I think a lot of the drivers this season have decided to challenge themselves and going out of your comfort zone. Like Mo again, would have never expected him to have been driving the Bentley of all things. He normally likes those like good rotation cars and something a little bit more mid-engined. Just I think people are you know, ACC is getting towards its twilight years. It's a I think it's what, 8-year-old game now, 7-year-old game now, and people just wanted to have a bit more fun with it. And it's great to see that people are able to do that and still put in incredibly impressive lap times.
Yeah, and also looking down at the amount of drivers we have on the grid today. By my reading, we've got 30. Some names that we're used to in the seasons gone by. Some new names that I don't recognise either. So we've got a very good mix of new drivers to RP series, to RP in general, and our returning older drivers as well, who have been with us for 1 season, 2 season, or all the way really when I started commentating RP series, which must be a couple years now as well. So it's always very interesting to me, at least, to see who comes in, who goes out, where the new people slot in, what happens to the older drivers. I mean, I've highlighted through the seasons improvements with some of the older drivers who have been with us for multiple seasons. One of the most notable examples is the name that I will never get right, but Nicholas Vangelo. Someone who's been with us for many seasons and has had constant improvement each season as well. And it's just something that I do really like to see with all the drivers that come in, to see through the season where they start and where they finish.
Yeah, it's always... I think that's my favourite thing. I've been with the system of RP stuff for a few years now, mostly as a steward. So with our live stewarded races for endurance and the post-race stewarding that happens for these series, I'm a big part of that and quite involved. But even then, just seeing the community grow, and now we've moved over to SimGrid, which is such a great help, has helped us fill out the grid massively. Helped us have what was our biggest event at Nords near release. I think we had, what was it, around 100 cars signed up, nearly 200 drivers as well. Such a milestone event for Racing Pals, and we're going to go from strength to strength, and RP series expanding like this is going to be a big part of it. Great commentators like Huski and James, huge parts of the reason why it's so much fun to be a part of this community.
And you, don't forget yourself, you come in and commentate with me as well. You know, we normally do stuff in the RP series together, and also the endurances we've linked up a few times. And for us as well, commentating, as I've said numerous of times before, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, if it wasn't for the drivers that sign up on the grid and come and race each other, we wouldn't really have much to be talking about each race, would we?
We'd have absolutely nothing. It would probably just be Thomas and Robin just taking each other off at random corners every now and then, which seems to happen. So that looks like it's qualifying over, and we have a very, very interesting top 10. Just to give you that quick rundown on the first and second rows of the grid, we have Robin Moe and Pierre Moreno lining up first and second, Kovac and Lataro lining up third and fourth, Giovannini and Thomas Jack fifth and sixth, seventh is Chris Lucht, eighth is Zachary in the 101 BMW. 9 and 10, Holman and Daniel Scott, who will be incredibly pleased with making the top 10 on qualifying, just edging out Jürgens Oosthausen in 11th.
Sure, and one thing that I do want to point attention to is the driver starting in P4, Lataro, the 46 BMW, a silver class in P4 overall, giving him the gap down to P10 is the next driver in his class. So Daniel Scott has got all those drivers to fight through to get up to Lataro to maybe challenge for the lead of his class.
Yeah, it's going to be a great thing to see him fight, see if he can stay up there with the platinum drivers. Like I said earlier, it's not like you can't fight the silver and platinum. There is still the bragging rights of winner overall. But if you are just, if you've got that many cars between you and the car that's fighting you for position behind, you are going to have one hell of a time.
For sure, and for people wondering or curious, this is the lineup for the bronze grid, classified as AM in ACC. We've got Koch in the lead, followed by Burks, Saar, Shoblum, Kabanov, Ronda, Gosso, Arens, Kaj, and Nicholas Angelou lining up those grids. A few names I've butchered there because I can barely speak my own language.
So those Kabanov is a rough one if you are not used to it.
And then we've got the silver grid here as well. Lataro in the lead of that, followed by Scott. But again, 6 cars separating them, 6 positions. That is going to be very interesting. And Daniel's going to have pressure from the back from the get-go with Oosthausen, who is in the same class as well. So that might even allow Lataro more time while they're fighting to build a gap and build it and build it and build it.
Yeah, and then with a 10-second warning for the session start and our formation grid, I think the big thing as well is it's not just a car that separates Scott and Oosthuizen. It's the fact that Jürgens is going to be back one and on the left of Scott. So if the car next to Daniel Scott gets a bad go at the start, that is going to leave Mr. Oosthausen, which I will say differently every time, high and or dry, and not enjoying his time.
No, and there is going to be, I think, especially with the amount of cars, the weather being good, getting up through Eau Rouge, as I've experienced in races, and I'm sure you have as well, is a terrifying matter, but it's where if you get that right, the rest of your race builds from there.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be very, very important to get those first couple of corners right. I think the big thing we've just seen, though, is Martin Kovac is in the pits.
Yes,
has not got away on the starting grid. We'll have to see what happens to him from here.
That is going to be very interesting because that's going to promote Mattia Lataro up to P3 overall. It's going to promote everyone up a position. However, I have just noticed one thing. Notario and Giovanni, both in the Vestasport liveried BMWs, starting at P3 and 4.
Going to be very, very confusing to see that, but it's going to look absolutely beautiful for the cameraman. But I think the most important thing now, I'm not a massive restart specialist, but if everyone does get promoted up a spot, that means that Daniel Scott and Jürgen Oosthuizen are going to start side by side. Second and third in silver, both in the Mustang.
It is going to be interesting because what is separating these two? The way the car's set up and the driver. That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be a classic American muscle drag race through Eau Rouge down the Camel Straight, and it's going to be a bravery into that right-hander that's going to win it.
It is indeed, and someone else as well who is going to be, I think, biting on the heels a little bit more into the race is the Mustang of James Andrews, the 74 car, starting P13 overall, P5 in class, right behind Vessels in the QRT Esports Bentley, the 83 car. So that is going to be an interesting battle to unfold. I'm pretty sure today, Jack, we're going to be seeing a lot of battles and a lot, I think, of very, very tight racing.
Oh, incredibly. We are... It feels like half the grid are in V8s towards this, especially half the silver grid are in V8s, it feels like. And one thing that those cars absolutely love are long straights and hard braking. Spa gives you a lot of both, but it also has some of those mid-speed corners, so any of those, there's more maneuverable. So Chris in the Porsche can probably send it up the inside of Thomas Jack pretty nifty. Can he keep it in there, though, with one of the widest vehicles that I have ever laid witness to in a sim race on the track?
We are going to see very shortly. For people who are unaware of Spa, the start-finish line that you would normally see for pretty much everything else is not the start line. The start line is down the old pit straight where you're on the run to Eau Rouge. The finish line is up at the new pit straight. I know, I've said pit straight so many times, the word is starting to sound silly.
This track has two, that is the problem.
Yes.
So the start line is after La Source, about halfway down before you get to Eau Rouge and Radion.
But the finish line is
just
La
after
Source.
the bus stop. Just after the bus stop, the F1 start finish on that grid that you are used to. As they come across the line now, they're going to grid up 2 by 2 as the Lord intended above.
They said get 2 of every car. I think we might have more than that for some cars on the grid today.
Pure American muscle.
But here we go, round La Source, and for the
should
first
get most
time,
of people are over, ready to go.
For the first time that you'll hear this season from me, let's see if I can time it right today.
Well,
we
you know
head
what the line is, don't you?
down to the line, and then we go green at Spa for round 2 of the RP series, and Robin Moe gets a very good start.
And Moreno immediately on the defense. Got some people cutting over the course. That's absolutely fine to make sure that we don't get any deaths at the top of the hill. Onto the Camel Straight, they are all going, and there is a spin-off at Eau Rouge and Radion. There is a yellow flags down there. Some people not having a fun time of it, trying to go side by side. Kovac's already got 4 positions.
Kubranov, I just saw there in the wall, and we've
into the wall.
That's Ronda there.
Gareth Ronda.
I don't know what happened. It looked like he might have got in the path. Now he's rejoining, just making sure that he doesn't collide with Kovacs, and I think that's Gotto behind him as well.
That would be Mr. Gotto, yeah.
But all things considered, we have had a very good...
sideways.
Round goes Vessels at the exit of Speaker's Corner. Looks like he collected the barrier, maybe a bit of front-end damage, but he has kept it straight and got it back on circuit.
Got it moving. That is a huge thing to keep that car out of the wall. Mustang, luckily, not as aero-dependent as other cars, so a little bit of aero damage. Not going to completely ruin your race.
Glover there tried down the inside of Vessels. Didn't quite make it work. But he is definitely looking racy now on the rear. This is a battle in silver class that is happening, so we'll keep an eye on that. But someone else, another battle that's happening between two drivers that we've seen quite a lot. It's Thomas Jack and Christian Liut, the 13 Mustang and the 158 Porsche. You can just see the power of the Mustang down the straight there, though.
Yeah, you're gonna see. Oh, the car going into the pits. Drive through for Lautaro.
Yeah, it's Lautaro.
Automatic drive through. Looks like the track cuts must have caught up with him on lap 1. Probably being overly cautious, getting off the road like we'll buy, but that is going to absolutely destroy his race with no pit stops to make up for it.
From P3 on the grid, that is probably not the start he would have wanted. And another thing to also note to, Daniel Scott is now in P8. Tristan Stork is separating Oosthuizen from Daniel as well, so he's being able to build himself a little buffer there by the looks of things.
Well, the power of the Mustangs caught up with Giovannini as well.
We can see
3 cars
in the draft, but they will go side by side. Tom will get the inside though, but is he clear into the left-hander? Wide. Yes, he is.
And
Thomas
really punishes the cars behind for being too close in his wake, as Pagani gets Oosthuizen as well into the same corner.
That was a very good move there from Tom. Christian was looking, I think it looked like he was trying to see if he could capitalize on it, but hasn't quite gone to plan, I don't think. And further back as well, Daniel Scott is chasing down the rear end of Horman in the 318 Ferrari. So he's looking,
QRT car, yeah.
He's looking to make inroads into the platinum class because he is now in the lead of silver.
Yes. Oh, massive that the lead of silver got that drive through. Can give Daniel Scott if you can get a buffer with no pit stop, there's a good chance he can run away with it. These Mustangs, they are not easy to catch, and Tristan Stork has already pulled back a gap, so Daniel Scott has a massive buffer to the rest of the silver category right now.
Daniel Scott, to his next silver class car, is around 1.8 seconds clear. That is how close it is at the moment.
But if you look at the rest of the gaps to the silver class, they are all within tenths of each other up until P14. So there is 4 cars that want to get rid of Tristan Stork. Now, he is in the Aston. He's going to make up some time in the midsections and around the source and the bus stop. But Blanchimont and from La Source to the end of the Camel Straight, that Mustang is going to add tenths and tenths to that gap.
Well, and here is a battle that we've seen for many seasons. It's Oosthuizen and Kyle Kirk. So the Porsche versus the Mustang. Down the straight will be where Oosthuizen is able to capitalize. But again, through the corners, if Kyle set that car up how I think he would have, it is going to be quite quick through the corners.
Yeah, as they come through. And the more they fight as well, the more that's going to cause them to fall off the back of the pack. There's already a second between Oosthuizen and Pagani. And Andrews really coming up the rear of them. This is going to be a very fun fight for the mid-pack.
It is, and speaking of fights, Tristan Stork now within a second of Pagani behind. So this is Aston on Aston at this point. And if these two are fighting, that is going to help Daniel no end.
But Daniel Scott has dropped about a second to Horman in the first sector, so might have got it a little bit wrong out of the source. If you do get the exit of the corners coming out onto these 2 long straights wrong, the Mustang will lose seconds over the lap. You need to get the source right every lap for over an hour to make the most out of that car.
Yeah, and it is one of the harder corners as we see Kovacs start from the pit lane up into 22nd, making the move now for 21st.
And getting 20th as well at the same time. He made that double overtake over a couple of corners.
So he is definitely moving up. He's now got 2.1 seconds to Glover ahead. So we'll have a check-in with him later and see just how that's going. Someone else
And
now
to
that's
admit-
fighting, though, Tristan Stork on the back of Daniel Scott, goes to the
Makes it
inside
up
at the
the
bus
inside.
stop, overshoots it, though, a little bit, doesn't keep the
and does
nose in.
switchback, and he's going to
Pagani-
get raced
Pagani
by
now,
Pagani.
he has got the run, maybe, but it looked like the way he came back on, was able to defend from Pagani, who looks to the inside at La Source. Do they
It's the
keep it side by
space.
side? Oh, there's enough space, but he doesn't keep the nose in there on the run down to Eau Rouge, and this is going to help Jürgen Zushausen no end, because now he's right on the rear bumper of the Aston Martin into the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, this is going to be a long draft chain. Daniel Scott has more than enough space to not really get punished too much, but Oosthuizen has to keep that draft going. They're going to break
Now,
it. They're going to try and
let's
go
see,
for a move.
Pagani down the... Oh, there's contact! Contact between Scott and Tristan Stork.
That is an absolutely
Daniel Scott.
heartbreaking.
Oh, it looked like... Did the Aston Martin just miss the braking point while trying to defend?
I think he was focused. I think he was focused too much on the other car he was fighting, not paying attention to what's going on in front of him. There was only half a second difference between those two Astons and the Mustang of Daniel Scott. That is going to be heartbreaking for Daniel.
That is.
Like, that now puts Pagani into the lead, who did nothing wrong really. Just had the person next to him make a massive mistake. He is now going to get chased. He's got 3 seconds in front of him, but lots of clean air, which you normally like, but you do not want clean air when there is a hungry green machine behind you, piloted by a very angry South African.
Yeah, and the gap there is 0.4 seconds, so he is going to have a lot of work to do in the corners to counteract that. And now looking at Kovacs, he's up to 17th on the back of Miguel Koch as well, so he's fighting for 16th already.
He's going to get him really, really quickly. He's alongside him through Blanchimont, and he's already passed him.
He is.
Miguel
Now he's
giving him the space and the respect that he deserves as a car that's coming through rapidly.
He's now got Gottlieb up ahead, and I'm pretty sure during the week I saw these two discussing and putting laps into the Lexus, as both of them are driving the Lexus this season.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see what happens, as Frederick Schoblem looking to have to defend from Jennings, who goes down the inside at the source. Frederick trying to cut back, but it's one of the hardest places really to keep the nose in is La Source, because of just the fact it tightens. But now they'll go 2 by 2 into Eau Rouge. No, they won't. Schoblem decides, no, that's not for me. I'm going to hang back just a little bit there.
And the
but
Lexus
is this a mistake? Because the Lexus...
They've both had a bad La Source. They were slow out of it. They are going to get hunted down by the Lexus garage manufacturer, really working well together. They're on the outside of the Mustang, keeping it with it. Look at that. That is two very talented drivers in the Lexus, absolutely making a meal of it. Speaking of making a meal, there's a yellow flag. Someone's round again.
It's Pujan Shah, who's round, hasn't got the
I've
car
no idea
started
what
yet.
happened to the number 69.
Let's have a look here at what has happened to him. We can't... The replay doesn't quite catch it. I don't know, with that corner, if you hit the inside curb there on the bottom of your screen wrong, it can send the cars around, because these cars run very low to the ground. But now, we're back with the two Lexuses, Gottlieb and Martin Kovacs. This isn't even an in-class battle. But as I've always said, you're also fighting for the bragging rights as well. But we're going to have to jump up, because as we were talking about, let's see just how much power the Mustang has down the straight. He's got the draft off of the Aston Martin towards the bus stop. Is Jürgen's going to try down the inside? No, he has to actually dive out the way.
What you want to do is, he's going to set up. You want to set up to get a good run out of La Source. He's lost a couple attempts. He would not have been liking that. But you want to get a good run out of the source, get a good draft, and that position is yours, Jurgens. Cuts out, get on the throttle nice and early. Using all 8 cylinders of that wonderful, wonderful Ford engine.
And all 5 gears of that wonderful, wonderful Ford engine.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, a 6-speed gearbox where gear 6 is kind of awful. Mostly good for nothing, really. Maybe some fuel saving if you need it. But no, you need to be within about 4 tenths coming out of the source to just get that clean overtake. It doesn't quite have it. The Aston, not a slow car in itself. Did go back and have a quick look at what happened to Shah. Got his side of the car on the inside curb. Got himself spun around under his own steam, unfortunately. Got the car lifted up on the right-hand side. And it just went.
So, looked like we had another very quick yellow flag there for a moment. So your top 3 now is Robin Moe, Pierre Morello, and Thomas Jack. So the three drivers that we're very used to seeing on the top 3 steps are currently sat in the top 3 positions, but we are only about 15 minutes into this race.
Yeah, not even a third of the way through this this event right now. Got more time for some more interesting things to happen. Kovacs currently chasing down P12.
And that is Burks, the 85 Mustang. And
so he's
just
finally got through all of the bronze drivers.
Very easily there, he was able down the inside. I didn't quite get to see if Burks was like, he's not in my class, let's let him go.
He let him through pretty comfortably. There's a good choice from Burks to not try and fight someone.
Yeah.
Who caught about 2 seconds of gap in half a lap.
Especially because Adam Burks is currently in the lead of his class as well. So he hasn't gained or lost anything here at all. If anything, he's just got rid of any risk that there could have been with trying to hold on to 12th position.
Yeah, I think when you're in the lead of your category, it's not worth fighting for those small positions.
Now, see Daniel Scott, 2x2 with another Mustang, a little bit of door banging through the bus stop. Sorry to cut you off there, Jack, but Daniel Scott trying to make up positions as
late break into the source.
Are they going to remain side by side though? No, they're not. Little twitch of oversteer as well on the exit. We head down. We're on the rear wing of Robert Jennings, the number 99 Ford, and it looks like Daniel got a better exit out of Eau Rouge as well, because he's already all over the rear bumper of the number 99 car. He tries to the outside, which can be good.
Late on the brakes.
The outside's where you want to be.
Yeah,
and is he clear?
Contact.
Yes, he is.
That is more than good enough. Maybe a little bit rough, a little bit ready, but rubbing is racing.
2 tenths also separates the lead of Silver Class between Jurgens and Pagani. So these two have been following line astern for quite a while, and they're coming up through the twistier section of the circuit, where the Aston Martin really needs to try and build up as much of a gap as possible before the long straight to the bus stop.
Yeah, it needs to get a really good exit out of here. Hope that Jurgens doesn't quite match it. But Jurgens using all the track, is very much in the draft. This is going to be a massive test of right foot heaviness. Who's going to keep their foot in longer? But it doesn't quite look like it might be to do the setup. Doesn't look like he's able to catch him. That Aston looking very rapid for Pagani. Follows closely through the bus stop. Like I said, he went a bit aggressive last time.
But it looks like that gap has more or less remained the same visually wise. So Jurgens is once again going to be at the behest of the Camel Straight, and his exit from Eau Rouge even though he had quite a bit of oversteer coming out of La Source, I saw quite the wiggle from the car.
Yeah, so if you are, it's about keeping those revs where you want them in the Mustang. If you're a little bit too high in the revs in a gear, as you accelerate, it's going to step out a little bit. It looks like that has happened. That is one of the big things that's tough about the car, is it does sometimes want to go sideways. It remembers it's a muscle car every now and then, but not when you want it to. It's just very, very, very fun to watch it be controlled by some of these amazing drivers we've got.
No, but I do just want to add, I'm not sure what happened to Pagani there. His run through the chicane was not ideal, because once again, Jurgens is right on the rear bumper of that car, 2/10 separating them as they head through Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, it might also just be a setup thing. The Aston, because it's naturally very good around corners, might be set up more for straight line speed, and the Mustang might be set up by Jurgens to, make up for some of those shortfalls in the corners, but lose a little bit of that top end as recompense for that. So these cars could be quite equal in how they're performing around the track, and it's going to come down to pure driver skill.
But hang on,
Jurgens
looking not quite there.
Bit of a wiggle.
That door closed very quickly as Pagani saw that Jurgens was having a look and decided to close that door and keep it closed, really. So they're about the same as they were last lap coming through here, and that Aston Martin is looking pretty strong in a straight line, and James Andrews, my mistake, is also slowly gaining by about just around a tenth-ish across these past few laps.
He was half a second behind Jurgens a few laps ago. He's been 2 seconds behind. I think he's more just reacting to the fight happening ahead. Speaking of the fight happening ahead, that is 2/10, 3/10 to 2/10 on the first part of this. This is going to be the run. So Jurgens has had an absolutely great exit. He needs to keep Rouge and Radion rapid, which he does. Keep the foot down, you're going to be in fifth gear the entire way around, so it's just about keeping behind the car in front, picking where you're going to go for the braking maneuver.
And Pagani was trying to break the toe.
Seems like it's worked. He's kept himself where he needed to be, it looks like.
He has, and Jurgens now still 2/10 behind, so he's kept it as it was as they head down towards Speaker's Corner, and it just looks like Jurgens is giving the push. And as we were saying earlier, no mandatory pit stop, so really is the hard push what you want to be doing at this stage.
Yeah, big thing that people are going to have to worry about is tyres. So, Spa, you normally can make your tyres last around 60 minutes pretty comfortably.
Oh, sorry, Jack, I'm just going to cut you out here. They are side by side. A bit of door banging. Jurgens is on the outside, but can he hold it to get the inside through the left-hand portion? They make contact!
He's been touched! And he's facing backwards into the barrier.
Jurgens is round. Oh, it just cuts out before the contact. It looks like he does give a tap on the barrier, though, so let's hope the speed was slow enough that it wouldn't have caused any lasting damage.
But that contact, Pagani did have a little bit of slow as well, waited up to see if he could get the space back.
He has, which James Andrews is in the lead.
James Andrews is in the lead by a large margin.
4.5 seconds between himself and Kyle Cook.
And he's got 7 seconds in front of him of free air.
And here we see Gottlieb, again, one of the silver drivers, in the fight with Burks. Burks is having the inside, though. He's actually looking a bit more defensive against Justin, but I'm not just sure if that was him actively trying to hold on to 13th or giving the defense, because every car that goes past, even if you're in another class, is one less in the quote-unquote buffer zone that you get.
Kovac in the Lexus chasing Pagani. Looking for that top 10 position. I reckon we can see him do it into Pouillon as well, because Kovac is an absolute insane person. And that's why we love having him around.
Indeed, I mean, he's already gained 19, if my math is right, positions since the start. He's just trying to fight his way up to the rest of the silver class, which at the minute, his gap to Robin Moe, which is the quickest without doing very bad mental math, is 27 seconds. But to go from 13th to 11th already is definitely...
14 seconds from 13th to 11th.
So
currently.
14 seconds to try and gain through it as well. And I'm pretty sure... I'm not saying that I know this for sure. However, it may be a possibility that some drivers might need to come in for the pit stop, especially with running off-circuit, offline. You do eventually get that message from your crew chief in your ear, pressure loss X tyre, as Kovacs has to go off the circuit to dodge the BMW. That was just wrong place, wrong time, but he has moved up to 10th now. And further up, we see Christian, right on the rear end of Pierre Moreno as well. So he's moved up to 3rd in class.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, 4th in class.
And Thomas Schack has gained 2nd at some point that we just did not pay attention to.
Exactly, there was a lot happening, so I'm sure we can be granted a pass on that one. But who gets the better exit out of a Rouge? It's Aston Martin v Porsche. Pierre Moreno versus Christian Lurch. Let's have a see what's happening. That Porsche is getting closer. He goes to the outside. Is he going to be able to get the nose ahead in time, though? It doesn't look like it.
So very close on that maneuver. Like, he's now bringing Giovannini into play, which is just absolutely incredible that there's a fight for 3rd that is 3 cars within a second.
Exactly. It's always something.
Race.
It's always something that we love to see happen. As I'm just having a look in the chat here. Because apparently the stream's having unhappy moments. I'm not quite sure as to why though. Not too sure there. So we'll have a gander.
That might just be YouTube's wonderful encoding being so very good all the time.
Possibly. Because I'm not seeing any issues on my end, which is the weird part.
I am seeing those issues. I don't know what's causing them. Hopefully, yeah, you don't need to stream into Discord because I've got the camera set up. But have a look further down. Kovac now right up behind Kyle Cook. The 10th separates them as they come up towards the bus stop. Kyle giving him the inside if he wants it. Of course he bloody does. He is Martin Kovac. Superstar. Looks like a woman, but he drives the car.
That's Kovac again. So he's got 5 seconds to gain to James Andrews in the lead.
That's in the lead of Silver, which means that essentially there is now a 1-car buffer for James Andrews and about 5 seconds. Speaking of buffer, Hooshausen has finally got the move on Pagani into La Source. Might want to get that back on the replay because that looked like it could have been an incredible move.
Yeah, it looks like Pagani actually went a bit wide over the sausage curbs. And Hooshausen just looked in and just went, thank you very much, I'm going to have that. So, really good reading of what the car ahead was doing there from Hooshausen.
gets the power down, is right alongside. There is nothing stopping the Mustang from taking that position. God's favorite princess of a car. Moreno looked at Giovanni, half a second between all of them.
Yeah, this is a very, very close battle between themselves. They are really, really keeping each other line of stern as we head around. It's just, for the drivers, I'm not sure how many of these experiences you've had personally, Jack, but I know that a lot of the time, mostly in endurance, it's been a case of stick behind for a little while, have a look at what the drivers ahead are doing, if their car is where it's strong, where it's not so strong in comparison to yours, and try and make moves based on that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to difference in car as well, you have to know what your strength is. What are you looking for? Are you looking for those good runs on a Mustang? Are you looking to, squeeze someone with an Aston Martin? Just I kind of know what you're looking for, where you're going with it. And it looks like Daniel Scott was around as well, again into the same corner a little while ago, getting caught up with Paul Glover, it looks like. Turns in a little bit, gets sent around. And at the same time, you had Gottlieb about 2 quarters further up, well off the track.
So I'm just going to cut in there again, down the inside from Tristan Stork. But he overcooks it into the bus stop on Burks. Burks just moved over to the side, as he has done previously, to try and just protect his position. And so Tristan Stork tried to move, and it just didn't quite work out for him. As Pierre Moreno has actually built a gap quite quickly to Christian Lux. 1 second thereabouts, but the gap behind between Lux and Giovannini is 0.4.
Yeah, barely anything between these people. Gottlieb now half a set, like it's almost half a second separating 3 cars now. Gottlieb wants to get back those positions that he lost. He was right behind Pagani before he had a little off. It's been there pretty rapidly. Stork right up on the inside of Burks. Little Mustang sandwich. Kovac has eaten about 1.5 seconds out of his gap to Andrew since we last checked in on him a few minutes ago. But he's really absolutely rapid.
And Gottlieb as well, looking on Burks. This is for position in race, but not in class. Obviously, Alan Burks is in the lead of the bronze class. The next car in his class is P17. So he's got that buffer there.
Looks like Giovannini just took Christian Lux as well into the bus stop. Which means the gap for those two.
Quick look at that. He just had the inside. Christian tried to keep the nose in, but the BMW was just there, right where he needed to be, and that was a very good move from the BMW, who now has 1.7 seconds to chase down to Pierre Moreno, but he has got very hungry looking Porsche on the rear end of his car as well. So this is going to be an interesting one to watch. So down the straight, it definitely looks like Giovannini got a better run out of Eau Rouge down onto the Camel Straight as well. So
yeah, it's going to be an absolutely absurd.
That gap is building, but one thing I do want to draw attention to just very quickly, Burks is now down to 14th, and you can actually see from watching Miguel Koch, he is 2 cars behind the lead of bronze class.
Yeah, not even 2 seconds as well. Like, there is very, very small amounts of gaps in between it, but you have Gottlieb, who, as we showed earlier, is very, very good in that Lexus. Him and Kovac have been absolutely smashing that car around tracks for a while now.
That is, Gottlieb looks to the inside, but it looked like that car just had more than enough. Has BMW there, not sure who's piloting that one. Under blue flags, moves over to let the race continue on as it was. So very, very nice sportsmanship there from the BMW driver. I think it was Kaj. But further back, here is a battle in class between Mattia Lautaro and Demmler. The McLaren on the BMW. Now, Lautaro qualified P3 overall, had that drive-through after the first lap. So he's been having a recovery drive to make. So it looks like we've got a yellow flag. It looks like it was Gottlieb. Let's have a look
round again.
What happened there to Justin Gottlieb. He looked very slow coming out of the chicane. So let's have a look. He's on the rear end of Glover, who's there. Nothing quite. Oh, he gets tagged. He gets tagged in the rear by Miguel Koch. And goes round.
But Miguel gets the recovery, but... Oh. Could have been so much more.
That is not what Justin would have wanted at all in that situation. He was fighting on the rear end of Glover for quite a few laps, and he's not going to be happy, I don't think. As we now see at Lautaro, he's going side by side.
Oh, and Kyle Cook off as well. Those corners at the end of the Camel Straight have been... Oh, and he's sliding. He's drifting that Porsche. You can have a look at this one, boss man. In the barrier.
Yeah, it looked like it just... From what I could see on the replay, he looks like he just overshot the braking mark. And you know, when you have those speed bumps essentially under the car, they can just cause it to get thrown.
Yeah, it is a rough and a bit of a tricky area. Those corners, they're not. They might just be essentially 90-degree left, right. But
as we now see, easy. Sorry to cut in there, Martin Kovacs clearing the last silver car. Before getting the run to the rest of his class. 11 seconds. And as well, looking further back, Daniel Scott has picked up a drive-through.
That would have been for track limits. 100% track limits. That's going to be after the spin from being in first. The contact, again, another spin as well. Being a drive-through as well, as that is like a perfect hat-trick of bad luck for Mr. Scott.
And we also have some drivers in the pit lane. Demmler and Nicholas, both of the two of the McLaren drivers in the pits, as well as Ruslan Kabanov. Looks like a lot of front end damage on the 227 McLaren there, so I'm not sure if he's had a bit of a moment into a rouge or one of the chicanes and just collected the barrier wrong in a way.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad start to the second race for a couple of drivers, but there's been some incredible recovery drives. Kovacs now has 10 seconds to make up for, and he got 5 seconds done in about 10 minutes. So we'll have a look at about 15 minutes left in the race, see how much time Kovacs has left, but he has clean air. Oh, I say clean air, but there was a spun around lapped car right in front of him. I don't know who that was.
Not 100% sure. In fact, a few drivers running around. I'm not 100% sure who that was, in fact. But Kovacs, 11 seconds to gain between himself and
No.
Horman.
It was Dennis Gotto, the 100 Mustang of Dennis Gotto, who's out for the wall again at Pillion. He has some snap oversteer, corrected it, goes off, and has had to return back to the pits in front end directly into the wall.
Let's have a look at what happened. So this was his spin before. This is when he was rejoining. And he gets the car going. Let's have a look.
Absolutely cooked his tyres going into Pouillon, not something you want.
He's a bit wide through there. Just gets that snap oversteer and just straight into the barrier. Reminds me a little bit of, and you might remember this, Antonio Giovinazzi's crash there in the real world a couple of years ago.
Very, very scary crash. Glad that Gio is absolutely okay there. He was absolutely fine off that. Just a testament to the safety of motorsport nowadays. But that is a terrifying crash. That car is toast. Big front engine, 8 block, lot of weight there. Big hit like that, you're not getting that going again.
Jack, we're just going to put our attention back to this. A battle that we were waiting for. I think I might have just commentators cursed it. There we had Miguel Koch right on the rear bumper of Burks. He got a little bit late on the brakes going into the bus stop, which has given Burks a 2.2 second gap. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on over the next few laps as well.
Yeah, going to be a very interesting fight for the first of that class, which we might also get a very similar fight for the first of silver. And I would just like to say that I did mention that we'd check in about, in about 10 minutes time. Kovacs is already 4 seconds behind Chris in 7th, who I think might have had a small spin because he was, I believe, in 5th behind Gio Vanini. And lost some time.
I would expect so, because looking at the times, it does seem like it. It seems those times have equalised. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yes. Oh, there's a lot of front end damage to the number 27 car coming out of Eau Rouge. Has he had a crash at Eau Rouge? We're having a look through the replay now. So he goes through the first part. Oh, he hits the inside curb too hard, straight into the barrier with the front end. Oh, that is not going to help the BMW at all.
That's going to be a large amount of aero damage. Suspension completely gone. That's going to be a tough one for the boys back in the pits to get fixed up. I'd be very surprised if he was not on a meatball flag.
Let's have a look inside the car and just watch as he comes to the straight part of the circuit outside of Speaker's Corner. It doesn't look like he's having to hold the wheel too far in either direction, to be honest. So he might have got away with just some aero damage. Well, with just a lot of aero damage and some slight suspension, which would be very lucky, I would say.
Yeah, incredibly lucky if that's all he can get away with it on. I would suspect some brakes, his brakes not to be functioning as intended all the time on that one.
So we're seeing another driver head into the pit lane. It is Christian, the 158 car.
I think he had a big off, quite a lot of damage on the side of the car. That's when he's going to have that looked at, see what's going on.
So we will keep up to date with that. Spa having... I'm not sure if Spa is... I'm pretty sure it has to be. Is Spa the longest pit lane that we have at the moment?
Yes, we use the full pit lane. So drive-throughs on this track are incredibly punishing. Speaking of punishing, Burks and Koch racing behind Stork in the 66. They are going to absolutely punish any mistake that each other makes. Koch really wanting that class win. Lataro also now only 3 tenths behind Gottlieb.
Yeah, they are running line astern together. The Vesta Sport car is looking like it is glued onto the rear end of the Lexus. And let's have a look as they head... Oh, the attempt around the outside there was made. but it didn't quite happen. A bit of a drift as well from the BMW going into Speaker's Corner. Again, something we don't see a lot, and might be a sign of the tyre situation that a lot of our drivers, I'm sure, will be starting to contend with in this portion of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on. We've got some big gaps built up now. Robin Moe has a 7.5 second gap to Thomas Jack. Zachary has a 10-second gap to Giovannini. Kovacs that 12-second gap to Horman, which has increased the time, like the challenge that he's got to catching in more positions. But P7 from starting from the pits is nothing to be upset about.
Well, Lautaro didn't start from the pits. He had that drive-through on lap 1.
Kovac.
Kovacs. Yeah.
Who's
P7.
just overtaken Horman? What's happened to Horman? He had massive amounts of time.
He has indeed. We are going to go back and have a look. This is... Oh, he's had a spin at the top of Eau Rouge into Radion. He's touched the rear end on the outside barrier, on the barrier as well.
He's gone very slowly, luckily, into the barrier, but that's huge. That's now put a buffer between Andrews and Oosthuizen. Which
James Andrews getting past as well down the straight. I'm sure that Ferrari is going to be very unhappy. I think if we had driver radios, we would be overdoing our beep budget for the season.
Yeah, we would. we would have to get Yuki to come in and have his wonderful conversation.
Oh, I don't know if there was contact there between Lautaro and Gottlieb, but Gottlieb has had to cut the chicane. Not sure if there was a little tap on the rear end, but Lautaro has moved up a position. He got the flash off of the Lexus as well, so there might have been contact. Let's have a look here. We're going to ride on board with Lautaro on the dash cam. You can see the Lexus on the right hand side as they go in. Lautaro's on the outside. There is just a tiny bit of contact there that just unsettles the Lexus and pulls it across onto the infield, and then the flash of anger as they go through as well.
Really should have, when you have that kind of contact, another car has to come off the track, you should give the position back. Gottlieb was ahead when they were going into the corner, so the sportsman-like thing to do there to make sure that you're not getting any risk of a penalty post-race. Give that position back, fight hard for it again, but he is 2 seconds up the thing.
Speaking of gaps, 4 tenths between Giovannini and Pierre Moreno as well for third overall and third in class. Pierre Moreno during the fighting has dropped to 5.5 seconds behind Tom.
Yeah, he's been around 4 seconds for most of the race behind Thomas Jack. They've been pretty much in lockstep at that pace. But now, having to defend a little bit harder, having to actually look in his rearview mirror, he's been pretty free of that for the last 45 minutes.
And the driver we haven't spoken about really at all since the race started is Robin Moe. He's just he started up the front, and he has just had a really strong pace today. Not until this point had any issues. He's just been driving.
Oh, speaking of not having issues, Giovanni just takes out, Pierre Moreno just absolutely takes out a lapped car. The number 33.
We're going to have a watch of this. Let's have a look. So that's Aaron's up ahead. Pierre's right behind him. He just drives through him.
Yeah, it's like he's expecting him to just not be there. That's someone who is very much looking in their rear view mirror, very much not paying attention. I hope we get some apologies in the paddock once that is all done and dealt with.
What I would say is, and then there's contact. Pierre Moreno's round.
But Giovanni should really slow down, give that position back right now. Or that is definitely going to get looked at. It has the shoes. He doesn't think it's his fault. He is more than willing to drive away.
Let's have a look inside the BMW here. So he was on the outside heading into the first part, then the inside. So he's there. He is alongside into the chicane. Actually a bit ahead. Goes deep. Oh, that is going to be a tight one, I would say. Because it sort of looks like their lines converge.
Yeah, almost. Almost. The stewards will have a look at that tonight. They will make their decision on it. That is a pretty heavy hit. He had enough space and time to not make that contact happen.
I mean, not as heavy as a hit as poor Aaron's had to deal with.
Yeah, that's going to get looked at. We don't really take kindly normally to cars collecting lapped or slower vehicles like that. As long as they're being predictable in front, there shouldn't be no issues.
I think a pint is probably owed there, in a way.
Yeah, a pint, a handshake, a message just to apologise, but that was a heavy hit. But Giovanni really got into third position. Yeah, don't want to think about race insurance.
So let us actually go back quick and have a look at that. So this is Aaron's. We're following him with a helicam. Bang! And just pivots straight into the barrier as well. And that put the poor driver into the pit lane. So I think that might be that McLaren written off for the race.
Yeah, Greg Aaron's his home racer, one of the only Belgian drivers that we have as well in the grid, has put something absolutely amazing into our RP series chat in the server, which I will read out verbatim. This is a quotation, so does not follow Ofcom rules normally. I can't move more to the inside to let them pass and still get brutally taken from behind. At least use lube next time, sad face. So we understand his feelings on the matter. We'll see how the stewards feel about that if it does get lodged as a ticket. But in the meantime, we'll let them get on with their second date, shall we say.
And just note, as that was a direct quotation, we are not bound by Ofcom rules.
Oh, what I would normally be... I would normally say that we're going to be approaching our last 10 minutes of the race, but I genuinely forgot for a second. This is 65 minutes, so we have 15 minutes remaining. Kovac not really gained much, but has got 2 P6. So there's been some other cars taking themselves out or being taken out around him. Gaps are nice and huge for the rest of this race. There looks like not much action left. Miguel being about a second or so behind Burks.
He is trying to close up that gap. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can close it up in the last 15 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes is a long time as well. And I'm sure the drivers who have been more focused on keeping the tyres in their best state until this point are going to be starting to reap the rewards.
Yeah, so it looks like this has become a race of consistency. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in the next 10 minutes. Like, we might actually see some tyre blowouts. There have been some people that have spun around, some people that have slid, that are still driving. Get that big scrub, get those big temps up. If you're not careful, it's gonna detonate at some point.
Big scrub keeps a little man down.
Big scrub is my grime name. So if you ever see anything like Big Scrub, give it a listen.
What, the Right Honourable Lord Scrub?
The Right Honourable High Lord Scrub, powered by AWS.
As we see Miguel Koch now within 0.3 seconds of Burks. He's been within striking distance before, but it hasn't quite materialised for him thus far. So we'll need to have a look and watch of if if he is able to put it together. But down the straight, what's going to be quicker is Koch goes off circuit. He's going to have to be careful with those, especially during this period. Because I believe it's 3 track limit warnings and then a drive-through, if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah, you will get your... It does fluctuate a little bit depending on how big the track cut is, but essentially your engineer will be told and will tell you that there is one more warning. And speaking of warnings, a big dip in from Burks doesn't get the rotation. That Mustang is long and wide, and that small Italian stallion makes it around the outside, gets the position.
But now,
can he hold it into LaSource?
Is he
Burks
looking?
on the inside. It's going to be a drag race with Lataro
And the BMW.
behind them.
Oh, there's contact! The BMW now, they're going 3 wide!
Miguel ends up on the marbles, not a place you want to be. It's going to be a big train of big
Burks,
boys.
very, very twitchy through our Rouge. Miguel Koch is going to take advantage and move up into the lead of the bronze class.
Oh, Miguel, he makes the move stick. He loses it through the source. The contact does not phase him. Lataro puts the blinders on Burks, and Miguel Koch is leading bronze. Incredible scenes.
What a move that was. He had that contact drop back, and if anything, that might have helped him because the BMW was coming quick. So he might have sat there and gone, this BMW is going to play in my favor.
Yeah, I think it might have just been like that. The BMW comes up the inside. You want to, as the Mustang there, you want to move to the center of the track to get yourself ready for that, for Erosion and Radion. But if you're stuck on the outside there, you're high and dry. You come across. He lost it a little bit. Looks like it was a bit of understeer on the right-hand portion of that, and he just didn't make the corner. Slows up correctly, doesn't want to go into the wall on the other side and hit something that you're not supposed to. And just, Miguel, number 9 Ferrari, just takes advantage. Is your leader for bronze. Incredible.
That I think will have to go down as one of the contenders for overtake of the race that we've seen, because that was really, really well capitalized on by Miguel, and now he's actually pulled a 1.5 second gap to Burks behind. But he's got a drive through.
Oh, Miguel. He does it, but he must have cut the corner around the com. Notoriously difficult to get that corner right every time. You make a couple of mistakes and then you've got to be absolutely perfect.
So that is going to put Burks back up into the lead and around about
a good
half
30
a lap clear.
It's a drive through at Spa with a long pit lane can be upwards of 40 seconds.
So he is going to have all that time in the world now, because other than Koch, his next car is Ronda in 19th position, who himself has had a drive-through.
And Ronda won't even get past Koch. As he comes into the old pits, to where a lot of our cars' garages are, still got a good 10-15 seconds before he gets into the pit lane. This is brutal. Our race leader coming up behind him as well, Robin Moe. Laps him. Poor Aaron's car in the pits. This is horrific. He gets going again. Still second, but he's a good minute, 50 seconds to the position in front of him, and a good 60, about a minute to the car behind. So
that is not what Miguel would have wanted after that. Absolutely, and I will keep saying it. After that amazing move he had made, that must be really, really painful for him to get that message in your ear that you've been given a drive-through after on the lap that you get the lead of your class.
That's going to be completely heartbreaking.
But P2 in class, if he can hold it, which with eight-ish minutes to go, should be a doable
I wouldn't say it's done
situation.
Like, he has to keep it on the track.
But here is something that I did want to see. It is Jurgens on the back of Horman. He goes down the inside of the Ferrari. Again, this is the track position, but this means that puts him 2.5-ish seconds behind James Andrews, who is currently fighting through lapped cars as well. Well, a lapped car, but if anything, that has happened in the best place it possibly could have for him, because Jurgens might be coming up to that Mustang of Ronda right into the bus stop chicane or a corner, which won't be ideal for him whatsoever.
No, I think he's going to get him on the blind spot. Oh, a little wiggle. You got to be careful coming out of this tight section. The handle of the Uzi that is Spa's shape.
Which some people say looks like an Uzi. Which an Uzi, whatever you want to call it. Which I didn't notice until I saw a picture and went, oh yeah, it kind of does. And now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, it's a weird one though, because it's a short barrel and like a weird half-folded stock. So,
right, I've learnt my next paper mache project to make, Spa, the pistol version.
Oh, I'm just gonna for airsoft. I'm just gonna 3D print some furniture for an Uzi that makes it the exact shape of Spa. It's gonna be very, very bad.
That would be very uncomfortable to hold, I would say.
Yeah.
As Jurgens gets down the inside of Ronda at the source, doesn't look like he's lost any of the time though that he had behind James Andrews. Yeah, so if anything, that has helped us. Oh, Ronda having to cut the top of a Rouge very, very tight there, almost heading into the barrier. Which, that must have been close for him. I'm sure that would be a moment where you're sat there going, ah! And then it's like, okay, I'm fine. Which, for me, as well, as you know, James, Jack, names, Jay's hard. I play this game in VR.
Yes.
I have had that happen a few times, and it is terrifying.
What else is going to be terrifying right now for Daniel Scott is he has Guillermo Pagani in the 444 Aston Martin, 4 tenths behind him, 3 tenths, and we've already proven that number 444 lime green Aston Martin of Pagani absolutely terrorizes Mustangs on this track, it feels like.
So with just under 5 minutes left to go, there is still possibilities for some movement to happen.
Oh, big cut from Pagani. Other races right now, Frederick Schaublum. Here is some lap traffic chasing down Ronda.
Yeah, he gets past the Ferrari and Frederick as well, a driver that we have seen for multiple seasons. This would be for 3rd in class.
This will be for that 3rd step of the podium. He's on the inside. Doesn't quite have the space to make the manoeuvre. And he's over it again. Tyres are starting to go. If you put your foot down a bit too quickly, traction control can only do so much. Especially if you're rear-wheel drive, these cars want to step out. And Pagani has taken Scott while we were looking at that as well.
I'm pretty sure as well. I'm not sure how the drivers have been doing it, but I know in my case when I've been running endurances, When the tyres start to go, the traction control starts to go up.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see how the settings on these cars have been tweaked throughout the race, especially if you get a weird little drop in the traction control. Some of these cars, electronics not as good as their other simulated counterparts. Just to fight the traction control in the ABS sometimes. But it does make for some interesting racing.
Indeed, as Shoblem is still right on the rear end of that Mustang. He's looking to the inside.
Inside of Puyon is a very risky space to go for it. But there's been a slight mistake from Ronda. He's on the outside. He's going to be right alongside him, but the outside line for the Mustang, get on that throttle. You're in a lower gear, so you have more rotation than other cars expect you to. He's keeping him behind for the Twisty's last sector.
It's just Shoblem has got not a lot of time left to make the move, because for people who are unaware, in GT racing, the race only ends when the leader crosses the line with the overall leader crosses the line with 0 seconds left on the clock. If he crosses the line with 1 second left, you are doing another lap.
Looks like it might be close to happening. Ormo through the com right now, coming into No Name, is going to. This will be the second to last lap. So these guys should know they have 2 more laps left. They should be looking at their fuel. Hopefully they're fueled up enough.
Through the source now, Shoblem tries to stick on the outside and get as much traction as he can, but goes over the sausage curb, which won't be too big of a help to him.
But Honda has pretty good ride height, so it shouldn't affect him on the acceleration. Cuts that corner massively, but keeps his wheels on the rumble strip. Loses a couple of tenths to it. See how he goes.
Yeah, because the track cut there is based on the rumbles on the inside. Even if your right-hand tires, are on it, you are classified as clear. As a big late break there from Shoblem. That is not going to have helped him much at all. That has widened the gap out by about 4 tenths.
Yeah, it's going to keep it interesting. Gets it back through No Name, but No Name, probably the weakest corner for the Mustangs. Slow first gear, can't really accelerate out of it very much because you have the next left-hander. Into Puyon, this is where we saw an absolutely worldly move. Got to get up close, make them make a mistake. And that is race control, leader on the final lap. So when you cross the finish line now, it will be your last lap. Make it count.
Exactly, and I'm sure for some drivers that Robin Moe might be coming up to, they'll probably see him in the rear view and go, I'm going to let him go past, because then that means you've got 1 less lap to make, essentially.
Fortunately, he's got a good amount of gap in front of him. And the next car that he's going to overtake will be Chris Luck, who will not want to be lapped by a class leader.
No, especially with the race that he had up until the final point, where he was battling for P3 for more or less the entire race. For then that to happen, I'm sure that is going to be not the best of things for him.
Oh, some movement. Shoblem gets a good exit out of the source. Ronda's going to have the power of the V8, but that massive beast of a car leaves a huge hole in the air that Frederick can take advantage of. Has to get a good rally on. A little bit of a track cut there.
I'm not sure, they both look like they got a good exit, but it does look like that Honda is gaining. Sorry, that Acura is gaining. That Honda, I don't know what they call it now.
It's the Honda, it's the race time Honda 951 car, but I believe he went out of the slip a little bit too early. You want to get yourself right up, slingshot round them, but he is close, he is quick, and he has about 10 corners left to do it in.
He has indeed, but we are going to have to jump up here because coming through the bus stop chicane for the final time to take victory in round 2. An absolutely amazing drive there for Robin Moe. Chris Looked was actually sat there on the line to go, I'm not doing another lap here. So what I said there was, it was completely
very
true.
Accurate.
As Frederick is just looking for any gap he could make, but doesn't quite make it here. Has, if anything, has lost a bit of time with a little bit of unsettledness to the car.
But his bus stops have been impeccable, so he needs to get up close and personal with the rear end of Ronda.
His bus stops have been taken like a professional stagecoach driver. So let's see here if he can pull it up into the bus stop again. And
Got a hate stagecoach.
It was the first bus company I could think of.
First day.
To possibly take it. He was 3/10 behind. I don't think it's going to be enough for Frederick Schoblin.
Ronda needs to make a mistake. I think the podium position is going to stay with Ronda. The 23 Mustang brings it home, 3rd in class. What a fucking drive, man.
What a battle that was in the closing portions of the race.
Still could make a position up here. He's only 7/10 behind the car in front. Oh, I don't know if he's going to risk. He could have risked it. There was some risky moves available, but I don't think he's going to lunge from that far back. Kind of bad launch bomb.
I don't think so. There, it looks like Glover is going to come to take 4th position in the silver class, and he does indeed. That means Lautaro in 5th, but Burks is coming round to take the win of bronze. Every other bronze driver has finished. It is just Adam Burks left to come round to actually take the win of his class. And across the line comes Burks. What a run that was. So here are your finishing results. From bronze, Burks takes the win, followed by Miguel Koch. Those two had a really good battle in the middle of the race, and it went all the way until that drive through. Ronda in 3rd, Schoblin 4th, Evangelo in 5th, Kurbanov in 6th, Karj 7th, 8th, Aarons, 9th, Gotto, and 10th is Saar. Those are the drivers that didn't finish the race today. In silver, Jürgens Ushausen takes the win in the Ford Mustang GT3, massive. Followed by James Andrews, Kyle Cook, Glover, Lautaro, Pagani, Scott, Demler, and Jennings and Gottlieb, with Vessels being the only driver there to not finish the race. And in platinum, Robin Moe comes along after 29 laps to take the victory, followed with a 12.1 second gap to Thomas Jack. Then was Giovannini, Pierre Moreno, Zachary, Kovacs, Horman, Chris Looked, with Tristan Stork not taking the flag at the end. So those are your finishing results. And as is normal, we will get the post-race interviews in as the game is deciding that depth of field is going to be turned up to the max here for some reason.
Hell yeah. They look absolutely gorgeous.
Very artistic.
Looks absolutely gorgeous, not gonna lie.
My room is dark, so I can't quite see what I'm typing here. So it might be in broken English. So we're just gonna call the winning drivers from their classes.
So if I'm going to leave the interviews. I'm going to leave the interviews off to yourself, as I am, or as I will be needed for stewarding immediately after the race, as tickets come in fast and furious, we will update the final standings on SimGrid for you, gentlemen, once they are ready.
That's fine. Thank you for joining me, Jack. And,
thank you for having me. Enjoy your interviews.
We'll see you soon. So we're first going to get in Mr. Robin Moe, who I haven't really got a great deal to say. Robin, what a drive that was for you. From the start to the end, you were just in a world of your own.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it felt like that, to be honest. Like, going into this, I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. Like, my practice wasn't, that extensive and stuff. But I think I have to say this was, like, in terms of just driving a perfect race, this was as close as I think I've ever gotten. Like, I did super consistent laps, no mistakes, really. Was building the gap all throughout the race. Nobody challenged me. Like, it felt really nice to drive. Thank you.
And one thing that I wanted to ask you, you've switched to the Bentley. Why have you switched to the Bentley? What does that car give you that you wanted?
Well, I've driven a lot of cars in this sim, and most noticeably, like lately, I was in the Porsche, and I wanted like a new experience. So I switched to the Lambo for the start of the season, but I was not vibing with the car at all. Like, I had like a disconnect issue last race in quali, and I had to come back from last. But the tire wear, the way the car felt, the top speed, none of it was really suiting me. So I decided to go front engine because I haven't done that in a while. And when I started out ACC, I started out in the Bentley. So it seemed like a good choice. And, it's a good race car overall.
And my final question for you, I obviously, as you know, I quite like talking about this at the start of the season. Who are the drivers that you're most, is concerned the right word, that you're most looking out for as these are the guys that I have to beat week in, week out?
Well, I think the person you have to beat if you want to win any race is Kovacs at the moment. He's just so consistent, super strong. Today he had an issue in the Lexus. He didn't have the fuel to finish the race, so he needed to do like a pit lane start to make it work. So he wasn't like a factor in this race. But Kovacs is usually, top of the game. If you beat him, you can be very proud of yourself. But I do have to say, like, Tom and Doug obviously are also always up there, super consistent drivers. And today Doug actually, having him behind me, knowing he has a car that's a few kph quicker in a straight is something you really don't want to see behind you when you're starting a race. But it worked out for me. But Doug is also Doug and Tom, both of them really good drivers.
Awesome. Well, Robin, congratulations on the race win. You don't know, in 2 weeks it may be the Bentley back up on that top step, and you may have to be subjected to talking to me again.
Who knows? Might just also be the opposite. Maybe the Bentley is just bad, or I have a bad race. Who knows? Like, you have to treasure the moments when you get them. So thank you for commentating, and I don't know if Daniel's dad is listening, but I also want to thank him for the enduring support. So
well, congratulations on the win. I don't know, might be speaking to you in the next couple of weeks. Who knows?
Thank you very much. We'll see. Enjoy your evening. I leave you to the interviews for now. Goodbye.
Yes, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too.
And that was Robin Moe, the winner of the overall race and the platinum race. The next driver we're going to get in is someone who I believe is new to RP series, at least definitely new to me. The winner of the bronze class, Mr. Adam Burks. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So your race today, you looked very, very quick in that class. How did it go from your perspective?
It went quite well for me today. I was pretty happy with that. I think my pace was consistently kind of where I wanted it. I was aiming for sort of high 220s, mid 221s, and I kind of think I hit that for the most part. So yeah, I was happy with it. It was pretty clean and quiet for the most part. I had some faster class cars come through. I do think I got quite lucky. I think Miguel in the Ferrari was definitely a faster driver today and probably should have held on to that lead, but unfortunately I think he picked a drive-through up towards the end of the race. But yeah, other than that, it was good. First time out in the Mustang as well, and that is definitely a car that I think suits me.
And the Mustang is a very, very new car to the sim. What is it about the Mustang that gels with you? Why is it your car of choice?
I just like the big front engine cars, and as soon as the Mustang came in, I thought I've got to give that a try. Did a few laps in it. I was in the BMW for round one. Did a few laps in the Mustang. Thought, oh, this isn't too far away from the BMW. You know, it feels to me, but it's a little bit more fun. So that was kind of made me do the jump. Did a few laps around Spa to test that it was okay there. A few laps around some of the other coming up tracks for the rest of the season, to make sure it wasn't a death trap on any of them. And yeah, it felt like a natural move.
And looking forward to the rest of the season, where is your overall aim in terms of where you're finishing? Are you gunning for the top spot, or have you got a position in mind that you're aiming for?
I'd like top three. I think top three after the first race was realistically, I thought, possible. I wasn't expecting to be stood on the top step at Spa, so now there's a little part of me that in the back of my head is going, yeah, I'd like to push on and try and take the top place, but I think it'll be difficult. I think, say, Miguel and is it Solvay, who's in the Honda today, both look like they've got a fair bit of pace as well, so hopefully it could be a nice sort of tussle and battle for the rest of the season.
Well, you never know. Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks' time you will be coming and speaking to me again. But until then, I'm going to let you go and enjoy your victory. Congratulations on the race win. Who knows what's going to happen on the next one?
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good day. Cheers.
You too. In a bit. And that was Adam Burks, the winner of the bronze class. And now the driver who has been waiting around, a driver that I'm used to speaking to quite often, but didn't get much of a chance to last season. It's the man whose name I can never pronounce correctly. Hello, Jurgens.
Hello. I don't know if you were waiting for a prompt from me or not, but I figured I'd let you give it a shot. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. So, silver today. What a race that was. You've come out on the top step there. How has it gone from your perspective?
It was interesting. I was fortunate and not fortunate at multiple points in the race. I definitely feel bad for Daniel. He got taken out through no fault of his own at the start. I got taken out at some point. Remembered that I had a reverse gear on the car, which was super helpful considering the front was in the wall. And then angrily drove to try and catch up. And then did a interesting maneuver on the last lap to get the lead. Definitely one that I'm going to have to look back again at the replay because I did give him a little nudge. But overall, a very fun race. I was stressed with about 20 minutes to go that I just wasn't going to catch James because he was doing really good pace. I'm not sure if it's traffic or just getting a couple fortunate laps going my way, but yeah, it was good.
And you're one of the drivers as well who's jumped over to the Mustang. We've already heard tonight that big front engine car is good. Is there anything else that brings you to the Mustang for the Cookie No Livery Racing Keck outfit?
It's a Ford. I'm back in a front engine car, which has taken, it's been a while since I've done that. Hopefully they fix the audio so that it sounds less like a certain other unnamed car that, I won't mention. And it actually drives fairly well for a car that you think would be a massive boat. Yeah, mostly the fact that it's a Ford, and I'm a supporter of that, Mark.
And a final question for you. Obviously, we're only in round 2. How are you feeling about the rest of the season, and who do you think you're going to be fighting against every round?
Let me grab the calendar on SimGrid so I can check, because I'm living my life a race at a time at the moment. Vin Diesel last quote. Imola will be interesting. I expect the Mustang to... I've not really tested it on tracks that have big curbs that you're supposed to hit, so we'll find out. It'll probably be a massive pain because how it hates slow speed corners. Nordschleifer, it should be fine. Red Bull Ring, it should be... Oh, it will be bad. I don't know. We'll see. I expect to be racing with James and Daniel, but it seems like most of the silver class is really up there, to be honest. Mattia Lataro, he was a lot quicker than all of us today, but we benefited from him getting a drive-through. But yeah, honestly, quite a lot of the class.
Awesome. So would you say then that Silver is going to be one of the tight classes to watch this season? Or would you say that it is going to be the tightest?
Well, like if you look at the results from today, Platinum was pretty close, with the exception of a few things. But I think Silver, like the pace ebbed and flowed throughout the race, so you'll have contenders each week, I think, who show up and do well.
Well, Cookie, I'm not going to try and pronounce the name again because I butcher it every time. You've sent me scores upon scores of pronunciation guides that I've never looked at. So congratulations on your race win. And if you're here next race, who knows?
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you very much for streaming. I hope it was entertaining. It certainly looked like a lot happened. And yeah, thanks for the stream. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And that was Jurgens Oosthuizen. He'll probably be watching and going, he's finally said it close to right. But that rounds us off for the stream. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will be joining you in 2 weeks' time for the next round of RP Series Season 11. You won't want to miss it. Until then, I've been Husky. Jack has gone off to go and do the post-race stewarding.